Okay, so welcome to this online problem solving session. I've been answering questions which unfortunately the answers won't have been recorded. Hey John, I noticed videos from further weeks have been made available early. Yes. Are they for us? For you? Yes. And are they from previous terms? Yes. Do they need to be updated? Most of them don't. All the ones that do, I will have to record again, and I'll record them closer to the day. Tuesdays is a 2-hour session and Thursday is a 1-hour session from 10 to 11. If we're doing 1531 alongside this course, yes, that's true. And that would be a very useful thing to do as well if you haven't done 1531 already. All right, let me see. Where shall I start? Oh, when should we attempt prac exercise 1? Okay, prac exercise 1 is excruciatingly self-explanatory, so you can probably do it straight away. And now I see this transcription is going a bit off. Hello, I just want to play with it now. Hello, transcriber. How are you? Oh, all right, got that. Didn't put the question mark at the end though, so it's not perfect. Hello, Dave. Yes. All right. Okay, so in these online sessions, the plan is to go through and solve some problems. And I kind of expect that you've had a look at the videos for that week already. I think when I put the videos on the website, I put them in the order that I'm going to cover those topics in these sessions. So certainly if you looked at the first couple of videos for a given week, let me just pop, oh, no. I've got to move my windows because the Zoom stuff overlays them. All right, let me see. Oh, look, here. I'll talk about that in a minute. Let's go to slides and videos. So if we go to week 1, data modeling, I'll talk about that today. ER model, I'll talk about that today or tomorrow. Relational model, Thursday rather. Relational model similarly, and try and wrap these up, cover all of these content or these topics in the problem solving sessions during the week. And today I'm actually doing them out of order. I decided to show you the new setup we've got for this course this term. Now, of course, to you, any setup we have is going to be new, but this is different to the way we've run this course in the past. Well, at least the platform that we've got available. I hate VS Code. Don't ever mention VS Code again. Use a different editor. VI with syntax highlighting is magnificent. Oh, gee, whatever. Yeah, use oh, God. Oh no, all the VS Code lackeys are going to, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Ah, Vim, good boy or girl. Notepad. Yeah, Notepad's probably all right too. Okay, enough of that. Yes, so I'll go through the topics roughly in the order that they appear on this page. What have I got for next week? Oh, that's what I was just looking at. Let's see, SQL. Yes, I'll jump into SQL next week. All right. So I did ask some questions of you, and I popped up the answer to one of them just before starting time of lectures. Oh, okay. It was overwhelmingly that people wanted 10 a.m. Some people said they didn't care because they're not attending anyway. That's fine. A few early birds want 9 a.m. Sorry. And a few people wanted 9:30. We'll do 10 and we'll go to 11. Last time I ran this, I ran beyond 11 and people got angry because they had other classes to go to. Now, of course, you got the video, so maybe that didn't matter so much. So it's remotely possible that I'll overshoot the 11 o'clock ending time. Right, so that was starting times. I asked what databases you had experience with, and this is what I discovered. Whoops, gosh, almost deleted that poll. That would have been silly. All right, so majority haven't used any DBMS before. Good, because this is an intro to databases course. Some people have used Postgres, some people have used MySQL. You have my deepest sympathy. Some people have used Oracle. Some people have used Microsoft SQL Server, SQLite. Okay, we're going to do that anyway. Firebase, MongoDB. You have even more sympathy if you've been inflicted with MongoDB. And I may make that video available, which has a nice take on MongoDB. Where are you? Where are you? Oh, all right. There you are. Most of you are on the East Coast. I'm assuming that most of the people who said that are actually in Sydney. I should have had an option for Brisbane or Melbourne, but there you go. A couple of people or a few people in China. I assume mostly China. Maybe there's some Koreans, I don't know. But anyway, most of you are in Sydney, which is okay. Where's the Central Asia, India, Pakistan? 7 people. All right. Yeah, I don't have a choice with the lecture times. It's annoying. It's decided by a bunch of timetabling Nazis up near the Chancellery. The new Moodle theme, who cares? From what I've seen, most people say big deal, doesn't help. And that's why we're not using Moodle. The only reason you need to use Moodle is to get to Echo 360 and eventually to fill out my experience. All right, let's get back here. Okay, so the course website, we've just been looking at it. That's its location. Other sites that you'll need to visit, Moodle, but you don't have to remember that URL. There's links. All of the Echo 360 links take you here. And the forum, after people complained endlessly about the WebCMS forum in the past, I said, all right, I'll try another one. So this term, we're going to use Discourse. It's possible that I'll install a better forum on WebCMS sometime during the term, but it's going to be impossible to transfer all the Discourse stuff to a new WebCMS. So once you've decided on a forum, at this point, you're kind of stuck with it. So I made a whole bunch of videos last year, the content videos. Most of them are okay. If you want to tell me that some videos are crap, let me know. I can have another go at making it. But you'll recognize the old videos, old, but not out of date. Whoa, I've just seen there are 32 new messages. Don't slander me. I love web CMS, don't like the forum. Yes, yes. Web CMS, big bad. What does that mean? Your discourse is good. Oh, all right, good. 1 and 2 discourse, 3 PRs. Yeah, I'll wait till we got the new web CMS forum. It'll be number 1. It just looks pretty. But it has some functionality that web CMS doesn't. The new web CMS forum, however, does, although it's not as pretty as Ed. All right. Yeah, so getting back to the videos. What jump scare warning. Couldn't resist. It's my favorite t-shirt. That's one that doesn't fit the themes, really. It's not tie-dye. It's not beer. It's not writing. Interesting. Maple, good on it. Maple TA has been replaced by Mobius. Fine, not relevant for this course. All right, so yeah, some of the videos, the content videos will have a blue border. They're the ones I made last year. Some of them will have a purple border. They're the ones I'm making this year. And in particular, the weekly preview videos have to be relevant to this term. So they're all going to be new. Yeah, but like I said, if you see one of the blue videos and you think it could be done better, let me know and I'll have a go. When I created the website, I cloned the 20T33311 website, which is all very nice, except that it doesn't modify links. So some of the links out of the website still go to 20T3 content. And I'm not talking about the videos, that's intentional, but other things might. If you happen to notice something that's gone to the wrong place, let me know. I have to agree. Oh, about Maple TA, fine. All right, so that's it for the course website. Now you've all told me I hate the web CMS forum and now I'm depressed. All right, in the past, COMP3311 has used a server called Greeg for running databases. This term we are not using Greeg. We're using a new server with the somewhat cryptic name d.cse.unsw.edu.au, D for database. This is one of the first tests of using an Amazon Web Service server, and this one's been set up just for you guys to use. So you can do all your prep work. Wow, so fancy, yes. Did I detect? Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. So Radar mentioned $. We'll find out at the end of term how much you guys have cost the school. And then maybe, just maybe, we'll go back to using our own servers because we'll realize that the cost is too much. Anyway, this is our experiment this term. The good thing about this is in the past, both the postgrad database course and the undergrad database course have had to share Greeg. And if you got 300 people in postgrad and 600 in undergrad, that's a lot of people are hammering a server. It's actually remarkable that it handles the load as well as it does. What is Greeg? It's a server. You may have noticed that the big logging servers in CSE have names of composers. Grieg, Wagner, Weil, I don't know who Weil is. I'm surprised there's not a Mozart somewhere, probably is. Who knows? Yeah, Corelli. What? Has Grieg? No, it hasn't. Amazingly. All right. So you can access this server either using SSH or VLab. This do you log out each time? Yes. So this is a totally different server. One thing, if you want to run your database, that's for sure. If you want to run your Postgres server, you will have to log out and log into d.cse. Yeah, all those login servers. It's not a problem. Well, one aspect isn't a problem because you actually have your normal CSE home directory on this server. But the other thing that you do have is an extra piece of storage with the very imaginative name local storage. And this has got a lot of space on it because all of the files that Postgres uses take up a fair bit of space. Couple of 100 megabytes, I think, just for a base installation, and then space for all the databases that you layered on top. No, you can't all have 4 terabytes, but you have a fair bit of space if you fill it up, and that's because I stuffed up and made you do something that required a lot of space. I guess the computing support people can bump up the amount of space on this server. This is a nice thing about AWS servers, that they're scalable. Well, yeah, you can store it in your own home directory. What jump scares. It was nice. It had a bit of Mozart. Because it says free space is 4 terabytes. Yeah, that's for the whole file system, not for you personally. I'm not actually. This is quite a good question. I'm not sure whether you have quotas on this. Hopefully, you do. Even 1 gigabyte, would be nice. But I think it's something like 300 or 400 meg is what you've got. But the only storage that you need on d.cse.unsw okay, don't understand that comment. What was I saying? Now I'm confused. I'm into a farming proof of space crypto, whatever that means. Don't know. Anyway, let's go and have a look at this server. I will log in. See how easy it is? I don't use VLab because I use Vim, and that doesn't require me to have anything fancy. So if I do an ls, looky, it's all my stuff that was on all the other CSE servers. So this is effectively home JAS. If I do pwd, it tells me that this is the directory JAS, which is imported from one of our big file servers, and maybe that's a composer name as well. Where should we look? Funny man. I don't care where you log into Windows. You imagine, God, if I could go back in time, I would make sure that VS Code had never come into existence. Why your terminal looks so different to what? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I guess, what's the word? Disclosure. I'm on a Mac. That's a Mac terminal window. Well, you can do it. You like the Greek. You probably can't log into it though. This is not Greek, remember? This is, whoa, what have I done? This is this machine here, nw-sid-vxdb. Huh, what happened to my chat window? Oh my God, it's gone. Huh. I'll have to get it back. All right, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Yeah, all right. NW stands for New World, the new world of CSE computing, SID, because this this machine is in Sydney somewhere, and VXDB. Well, DB is obviously for database stuff. You can also access this same machine via good old VLab service via a VNC. The machine you need to access, so you don't go through. Yeah, good. I like that. Very extreme database. You just use d.csc.unsw.edu.au:5290, I think is the port. What's in Excel? It's not what you think, mate. It's just a name that I use when I can't be bothered thinking of a sensible name. I don't even know what that was. It's a bit of HTML anyway. All right, so CD/local storage. Oh. And look, some of you have already logged in. As soon as you log into this machine, it creates a directory for you in local storage. And it's created one for me. And in there, I've already got a Postgres installation. If I try to do PSQL-L, it's probably going to say this is worth looking at, actually. So here I'm just trying to check whether my Postgres server is running. Can't connect to server. Is the server running locally and accepting connections on this? This is the default. Well, I can go just that part. This is the default directory. How to log in. SSH. Well, let me go to another window. SSH. d.cz.unsw.edu.au, and that will log you in. As I said, if you want to use, is that the right port number? So this is if you're trying to use VLab. That's the thing you give. Yeah, all right. So run your VNC client and give that as the address you want to go to, and it will pop up a VLab window on this machine. All right. Let's see what that does. Command not found. Surprise, surprise. All right. Yeah, so if you ever get something like this, it means you haven't set up your server properly. One thing you're going to have to do is set up an environment for your server. And you may notice there's a little thing here called env. That's a little shell script to set up the environment. All right, the only thing you need to, you can make a copy of this, and I'll make a copy available somewhere. Obviously, you don't want to say JAS, you want to give your own ZID. You do need to say Postgres 13 because the systems people kindly installed Postgres 13, which last time, well, the time before last that I looked was the bleeding edge version. There now seems to be Postgres 14, which is in alpha testing. So Postgres 13 seems to be working all right. That's the one you're going to have to use here. I don't care if you want to install Postgres on your home machine. That's fine. Can't seem to log in. That's interesting. So it's giving you an error. Okay. Did you enroll recently? Don't know. Are you trying to log in through? Oh yeah, good point. Yes, thank you. I forgot that. If the username on your machine, whatever machine you're on now, is different to your ZID. Yes, you need to put the ZID. Are you logging into the right account? Yes, yes, yes. Oh, well. Yes, yes. Yeah, I will make a new video. I had a video for installing Postgres on your local machine. Yeah, good point. So I'll show you how you log in. I'll get back to that. Let's exit. What's it called? D.cc. Where you replace JAF by your ZID. And this knows who I am because I've logged in before and I've got an SSH key. Yeah. Ah, okay, thanks. Yeah, that sounds plausible. Yeah, cool. All right, so once you get logged in, let's go back to local storage. Because I'm lazy and I don't like typing long names. Ooh, where'd that go? I set up a symbolic link. So if I want to go to my directory on local storage, I just say cd/db, and there I am back there. All right, now, so you can set a symlink up if you like. It's handy. All right. So yeah, so this is the directory where you're going to install all the files for your Postgres server. This is the directory which has all the binaries for Postgres. So this directory holds data files, and this directory holds all the binaries. Blah, blah, blah. In fact, you could copy this, and absolutely the only thing you'd need to change is JAS. Change it to your ZID. I'll put a copy of that somewhere so that you can all use it. I set up a couple of aliases to start and stop my server anyway to run this script in one line. Yeah. You do this, source. That's what you have to do each time you log in, or you can put it in your .bash RC. Ooh. Yeah, you need to check whether this directory actually exists if you're going to stick it in your bash RC. All right, so having done that, you can always just check what does PG data say, and it says the right thing for this machine. All right, having set up the environment, I could now run my server, and I can just type P1, and then standard thing I usually do is just to check the server's running. Give me a list of all the databases. There they are. If that's what you see, your server's running fine, and then you can start playing with it. Is this end file posted somewhere? Not yet. I'll put a copy on the website. Oh, should I do that now so that you can all copy it and then play along at home? That's not a bad idea. Oh. Oops. All right, copy that. I'll need to make another window. Let's say I'll stick it under the. Oops. 21. I'll stick it under pracs, I guess. I'll stick it on the prayer, I guess. No, it's not what I said. All right. yeah. Let's hope this will actually work fine. Notice I don't have syntax highlighting here. Who cares? Syntax highlighting is overrated. All right. Let me see, is that readable? Yes, it is. So if you want to get a hold of this, they'll have to be on a CSV server to get it. Web 2123/n. And there you have it. So you can do that. You could also actually contrive a URL. Do I need to install it? I don't have Postgres. Yeah, fine, because you haven't installed it. I'm about to show you how to install it. I'm literally confused. All right, all you need to know is that you need a copy of this file in the local storage /u directory on VXDB. And when you log in to VXDB, you do source, yeah, thanks, URL. All right. Confused divided by 100, does that mean slightly confused or extremely confused? All right. Okay, so it worked for me. I could successfully run my Postgres server. If I want to stop it, I've got an alias P0, but all that does is run this command, hopefully, and it stops my server. So now if I once again try PSQL-L, it tells me that it can't find the server. And this time it's actually at least looking in the right place. So that's where your Postgres server eventually has to live. All right, now what I'm going to do is just get rid of my Postgres server. Gone. And if I type PSQL-L, it's going to keep saying the same thing because I no longer have a Postgres server there. How do I get a Postgres server? I run the command initdb. And I should say which initdb. It's in the in this directory, and you may have noticed that env put this directory into my path. Okay, you could always type the full path name if you like typing a lot. So I run this command and it goes blah, 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 copies a whole lot of stuff. And now PGSQL is back again. Whoa. All right, but it's not ready quite yet. All right, what I need to then do, and this is all going to be described in prac exercise 2, but I'm just showing you, if you're following along at home, you might, command not found. Did you run the env? Are you on the machine? Did you source env? And did you check which initdb command it was? And PowerShell. You can, if you can log into d.csc. Wow, whoever said d.unsw.edu.au, that's the wrong name. It's d.csc. So that would help. Yeah, like that. Like Sam just said. Yeah, and then Mohammed said. All right. Can I execute source user bin? Why are you trying to run user bin env? What you should be doing is copying that file. Actually, can I? So I'm currently on VXDB. Can I? Do I have access to this directory? I do. Haha. So if I didn't have this env, I could just copy it out of that directory. So copy. I don't want to clobber my current env, but so I can just make a copy of it. Don't call it X, Y, Z, Z, Y, though, call it env. I just didn't want to overwrite my current one. All right, so looking at my current env. So what you'll need to change is this. Stick your ZID there. The authenticity of host blah blah can't be established. Really? Oh, interesting. Is it fine to do this on command prompt? Yes. I don't quite understand why you can't enter the password. I think what we're going to have, yes, debugging session. And to explain from the start, copying it into the file. What did you type in after SSH? All right, let's go back. I'll get totally off VXDV. I'm now back on my Mac. Yeah, the reason I don't have to type a password is that because I've got a SSH key set up. It's easy enough to generate one, but in theory, you should be able to type your password as well. All right, so jazz d.cse.unsw.edu.au. Log into the account JAS on this machine. And it logs me in because, as I just said, well, VI is Vim. I don't think any machines actually have that good old VI anymore. I don't think any machines actually have that girl VI anymore. Interesting. Oh, have that what? Oh dear, that transcriber is a little bit weird. All right, so I logged in here. If I do an LS, they're all the files in my home directory. If you do an LS, that's what you should see. Oh, no, you won't see that. You'll see the files in your home directory. All right. Of course, that's not where we want to be to create a Postgres server. We need to be in our local storage directory. And once again, you type your ZID. So that takes me to this directory. And in this directory, I'd already copied across that env script. And because it's me, I can use JAS. You need to use your own ZID there. Is there a Facebook chat? Well, maybe. I haven't made one, but you can make one if you like. All right. Yeah, so before I can start working with Postgres, I need to make sure my environment is set up correctly. And to do that, I source this file here, which just means execute that file. And that sets up the environment. When I type, it shows what? Commons. Yeah. Oh my God. All right. Use cat. M is just my alias for more, which is the old version of less. Improbs is his abbreviation for cat. Well, it's actually abbreviation for more. Right, there you go. So you can use cat and you can see the file. And then, as I said, you source it. And if you already got a PGSQL directory, you don't need to type initdb. However, just for the sake of argument, I will remove the PGSQL directory and create it again. Just to make sure your environment's set up right, don't do which by itself, do which initdb. And it should say something like that. No such file found. Did you copy it across? RR is recursive and doesn't ask any questions, because PGSQL is a whole lot of subdirectories as well. RM asks me, which initdb didn't say anything. What? How do we copy it across? Yeah, exactly. Do you need to source? Yes, you need to source in every time, unless you put it in your .bashrc. But you'd want to check which host you're on, and only do it if you're on this particular host here. If you try to do it on Wagner or whatever, it'll say, what will it say? It'll say local storage not found. Hey Jess, can you try logging by? I was trying to avoid that. All right, I will. And this is also going to confuse you. Your what? Yay, terminal doesn't work. What's the next step? All right, at least Selena's keeping up. Y, B, and C, it's so slow. Oh, really? I tried it out a couple of days ago. All right, I'll do it again. Where am I? I'm on Wagner. Right, I have to come back to myself. Now, this is going to confuse the hell out of everybody. I have got a command called VLAP, which starts Tiger VNC. All right, going back to the copying. Let's have a look here. Do this. If you've got a directory in local storage on the VXDB server, you can simply do, and you're in that directory, in your local storage directory, you can do that, and that will copy the end file. Of course, you need to edit the end file and change that to Z, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. All right, I don't want to do that because that's not my ZIZ. Okay, let me see. All right, so I was going to try VLab, and this says, all right, so normally I'd go to vlab.csv, but this time I'm going to go here. And it instant, who was saying it was slow? And it pops up, blah, 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 little window manager. All right. All right, this is a junk that happens to be sitting in my desktop in my home directory on the CSV file servers. All right, I can pop up a terminal window, which you all seem to hate. Can you send the command in chat when ready? Oh, which command? To copy the file. Yeah, all right, I can do that. We are setting up, but we keep backtracking for yeah, because people say I've lost track. All right, first thing you got to do, well, SSH to D dot CSV, blah, 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 blah. Right, that's not a command. Next, once you're there, CD or local storage / your and once you're there, I should be able to copy and paste this. Cat, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that will do. Oh, I would have to use cat to use copy here. To ./n. So into your local storage directory, you've now copied a little script. All right. Next thing you do is you run this command, and you should have your environment set up properly to what? Yeah, well, I assume you're doing that to taunt me. Don't CD local storage / jet. Yeah, okay. Oh. All right, funny, haha. Yeah, try that. He doesn't actually have a directory there. No, don't cry, don't cry. All right, where are we? Maybe wait till I post the prac exercise. But in any case, I'm determined to get this done. Yes, LOL. La la la. All right. What was I up to? Oh yeah, the VLab. All right. So I'm on the machine here in a VLab thing. Once again, I can do ls. It shows me all the files in my home directory. And I can go cd local storage / jas, which you don't do, is cd. So after source, where do all the files appear? Nowhere yet. I'm getting to that. All right. Anyway, so I think how do we edit the end file? Oh, it's just a text file. Any text editor will allow you to fix it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, you're right. Nothing happens. Yeah, I can do this. Well, things do happen, but they don't happen at the interface level. They happen in the background. Okay. VNC, what relies on GUI? Whatever. You can use whatever VNC server you have. Yeah, but that doesn't. All right, can we open? Yes. Well, I don't know. What's the command name for VS Code? Yeah, you could try something really easy. Nano. There you go. You should be able to work out that editor, or is gedit here? Oh. No, I won't try that. All right, so enough of that. We don't need VLab. We've already got a window. We're not doing any windowing stuff here. Did you CP the file? Yeah, 50. You're not failing. Always, this initial setup is tedious. Once you've done it once, you say, oh, no, is that all? All right, you just get used to doing it. But one thing I did want to point out is if you do PSQL, try to run a Postgres thing, it's obviously not yet running because I haven't set up my directory. Well, I guess that was the other thing I should have shown you there. Like, well, yeah, all right. So this is PGSQL directory does not exist yet. The initdb command is going to create it. All right. So you can see nothing up my sleeve. All I've got in this directory is check and end. If I go initdb, it does all that. And if I do ls again, bingo, there's a PGSQL directory. What? Yeah, if you could kill anyone, yes, indeed. I'll join in with the Hitler thing. initdb error for me. What's the error? Check is just, I forget what check is. It's just another shell script I had. Oh, it's a bit of Python, that's right. I was just testing whether the Python interface. bash initdb command not found. Did you source./n? Correct. And you must replace. Oh, thank God it worked for someone. Does it work for anyone else? Yay, yay, some people, good, all right. It's like pulling teeth. Okay, so we got PGSQL, but that's not enough. We have to do a little bit of tweaking here. So PGSQL has a subdirectory called data, and this contains a whole bunch of stuff, most of which you don't have to care about. The directory called base is where the actual data lives, and it's in binary format, so there's not much point going and looking at it. But the thing you do need to change, once again, this will all be extensively documented in Prac 02, is this file. And one thing that you need to fix is this. At the moment, this line has a hash at the start. That's a comment. So unless you get rid of that hash, this isn't going to work. The other thing you probably get rid of, you don't need 100 connections. That just wastes memory. So I'll cut it back to 16. But what you do need to put here, which file? This, oh yeah, all right, sorry. I'm in this directory, local storage /me/pgsql/data, and I'm modifying the file postgresql.conf for configuration. All right, and I need to change this path name here so that it matches the path that I'm using. So it has to be local storage/jas/pgsql. And if I really wanted to, I could do something like echo $pg data. That's the directory. Oh, that's the directory that it has to be. So I could even just copy and paste that into the thing. Lucky I checked. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked, and I would have been going. Let me see what else. Maybe that's the only thing you need to change. Shared buffers. As you can see from this, Postgres has so many configuration options. Blah blah blah. In fact, oh, that might have been something. I don't know. Min wall size. If you want to find out what all this stuff is, do 9315. I have a file and I've ran it, but it doesn't do anything. It does do something, but it does it in the background. It doesn't go blah, 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 I did this. It just does it. Where do we run cd local storage from? From the shell when you log in. Yeah, I know it's syntax highlighting. I'm using Vim. Use the editor and then it gets in. And yeah. Can I see unit? Yes, I'll go back to that because that's, I think, I was just checking whether there was anything else I needed to modify, but I don't think there is. So life is easy. All right. So you can search for socket, something like that. And it has to be, if you set, it has to have the same value as the PG data variable does. How do we get the check file? You don't need to worry about the check file. It's irrelevant at this stage. Why don't, yeah, good idea. I'd enforce Vim in COMP3311. Oh, yeah, I guess that's probably a reasonable comment. Vim, however, works on any machine, whereas most of these other editors, and is relatively lightweight. So anyway, all right. So don't put JAS, put your own ZID. You could change the max connections to something less than 100. Basically what that means is that, You know, you can, if you set it to 100, you can have 100 simultaneous users hammering your database. No, you don't need to. All right. So the question was, do we need to source post.conf? No, we don't. So I'll write it out. So it actually gets looked at when you start the Postgres server. No, we won't be doing anything. Doesn't matter. I just make it 16 because I don't like to waste resources. All right. Having done that, we can go back to this directory. In fact, we don't need to go back to this directory really. And we type this command. What's $I? Oh, yeah, it's not going to work. All right, we type VG control start. Or you set up that alias and then you just use that, right? PG control. The -L option is just telling it where to put the log file. We don't want to stick it. You can stick it in this directory if you like, doesn't matter. And start means start the server. And it says, what you do want? Waiting for server, could not start server. Aha. All right. This is good. This is good. If something goes wrong and it can't start the server, it says examine the log output. All right, so the log output is here. Let's see, starting Postgres, couldn't bind it to, aha, that was the other thing. I think, no, it could not create listen socket. It shouldn't be trying to create TCP IP sockets. I must have forgotten to do something else in the conf file. All right, let's go back down. Ah, yes, there is one other thing that we need to change. I now remember. Listen addresses. So you don't want to listen on any IP addresses. So I think you do that. All right. Good, no, good. Yeah. That's because I didn't finish fixing the config file. All right, so that's the final thing to do. Don't listen on sockets. What was the directories for Unix socket? Oh, it has to match PG data. So whatever value you've got for the PG data variable, that's the one you use. Why does show the working? Because, all right, this shell, I didn't change anything about it. I'm just using the default. Oh, really? How come I didn't have any of these problems? All right, so let's go. Oh, in fact, let's stay here. So you can see this is where the log file goes. All right, let's try again. All right, and this time the server started correctly. Yeah, that's interesting about that locale thing. How do you exit VI in PowerShell? How you exit VI is :WQ. You can now say, yeah, that's what I just got. Did I? Oh no, that's okay. That's good. Yeah, I think that's the thing you get at the end of initdb. But before you can start using the database server, you have to fiddle with the configuration like what I just showed. PG control is the command for starting the server. You can either use this one, or you may have noticed Now down the bottom of here were a couple of aliases. P1 starts the server just by typing P1 and not having to type all this crap. P0 stops the server. All right, got to go. What's time? 5. I meant to have a break in the middle of this, but we're going so well. All right, so hopefully now that the server's running, if I do that, I should get that. What? See, all these things that you're getting wrong, I can't diagnose them because I don't know exactly what you've done to get to that point. There are a myriad of things. Did you an error? That's a good suggestion. initdb. All right, has anyone got to this point where you can type PSQL -L and it gives you a list? Yes, 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 yes. All right. All right, so what else can we do? Another thing we can do, we could create a database. Didn't say anything. Is there anything we're supposed to be running after change to the conf file? Yes, P1 to start the server, or you can use that command there. But P1 is much easier if you've set your environment up, so it does that. So yeah, they'll all be in the prac exercise, which looks like I'm going to have to create real soon. All right, so I've created a database. I can have a look at my test database. I can say, what's in my test database? Didn't find anything. Okay. If I wanted to, I could create a table called R with fields X and int and Y and int. And then I could insert some tuples into that table. Insert into R. The prac exercise makes it easier. Because it gives you a database to load up. There will be a video though that we can watch again. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I'm videoing all of these sessions. Yes, there will be instructions. All right. So what's in table R? I can ask that question like this. This is SQL. You don't have to understand this. All right. If all that works, then you're laughing. You've got a database server, you can create databases. The databases seem to behave correctly. Let's try one other thing. Like from R, where X is greater than Y. And there should only be one tuple, which would be that 5-4 tuple. All right, that looks good. Crying right now. Don't cry. Please don't cry. I'll feel bad. Wait for prac 02 to come out, then that will make everything crystal clear. And how do I get out? So here's another one, you know, people get into VI, they don't know how to get out. People get into PSQL, which is effectively the Postgres shell. How do I get out? /Q for quit. Obvious, really. Oh, crying with happiness. That's good, good, good. All right. I think I'll stop fiddling around with that and we can go back to other stuff. Like I said, there's going to be a prac exercise. There's a prac exercise 01, which lets you fiddle around with SQLite, which doesn't require any of the configuration like we've had to do here. But SQLite is a baby database, maybe. It's not bad, actually. But it's certainly not a database that has a server. Postgres is a serious database. All right, and where am I? Here I am. Okay, wow, that was a long detour talking about the database server. Could you kindly make that practice exercise available? Yes, yes, yes. Test exists and about relationship cardinality. Yes, I will, but maybe not today. Or maybe I will. I'll probably have time. Okay. Forum, we're using Discourse rather than the native WebCMS forum, which sadly for me, you all seem to dislike. For Discourse, one thing that WebCMS does do properly is that you post, it's set up so the intention is that you post your queries from a particular page, and it's the page where you're asking the question. So if you're looking at lab exercise 2 and you post into the comments, it automatically associates that comment or that question with lab exercise 2. Discourse doesn't do that automatically. Oh yeah, good point. How do you delete the test table? Or the test database? All right, drop. The table was actually called R. Second, what? Out of practice, clearly. All right. So now nothing left in the database. And if I want to get rid of the database, oops, there's actually a command for doing that. And we're back to the initial stage. And that was drop table with a space between the words drop and table, followed by the table name. All right, let's get back to the forum. Yeah, so when you're posting stuff on the forum, please associate a category with your post. You don't have to, it'll just go into a big bucket where all the other posts end up. But if it's on a specific topic like one of these, please attach it to the category. Probably no point posting any questions on the first assignment because they haven't released it yet. You can ask queries about the prac and tut exercises on the forum, but you're probably better off asking your tutor in a tut because they can explain it all in a little bit more detail than you're likely to get on the forum, right? But the changes you made, okay. All right, one last time. BI, PG, SQL, I'll just do it differently. All this has to work together. You have to have set up your environment and you have to have set up the conf file to be consistent with that environment. All right, so we go down here, connections and authentication, turn off the listen addresses, otherwise it'll try to do TCP/IP and that doesn't work. Are tutes and pracs worth marks or not? No. No. I was about to lie and say yes to encourage you to do them. I was what? Never mind. Yeah, listen addresses has to be an empty string and make sure it doesn't have a hash in front of it. Similarly, max connections, you can change that or not, doesn't really matter. And Unix socket directories also, if it's got a hash in front of it, you're not doing anything. Oops. So that. Does it matter where in the file system you are when you start the server? No, it doesn't matter at all. It can be anywhere. You could even be in your home directory. So I go back to my home directory, pwd, and SQL -L works from there. P0 works from there to stop the server. PSQL-L, why did I type that? Now there is no server. If I start the server again, then that works again. Yeah, yeah, classic. What will happen if listen addresses has a hash? It won't work because it will think you want to have listen addresses, because what it actually shows you in the default config file is it has localhost as the listen address. Why nothing happen if I run source./n? Nothing visible happens, but magic happens in the background. To delete the DB, how do we get the test? Oh, I haven't got one. Oh, I have to make another one here. I'm never gonna get out of here. PSQL-L. Ho, ho, look, there's a database called test. Suddenly appears. Didn't appear up here. All right, if I go into PSQL test, there's actually nothing in it, so it's pretty boring. So maybe I get out of here. \Q is the quit command for PSQL. Like I said, PSQL is kind of like a shell for Postgres and allows you to run SQL commands plus a bunch of other things. Can you show what to do after editing the config file? Not much. All you got to do is start the server. So if you've already sourced the env file, then you should have access to a command P1. And if you run P1, that will start the server. If I run P0, shuts down the server. If I run P1, starts the server again. And the test database is still here. That's very important because you want your databases to be persistent. One thing that won't be persistent on this machine is when you log out of this machine, it will kill your server anyway. As far as I know, let's try it. Because it mightn't do it for me because I'm special. Oh. Remember, I've got a sim link, that's why that worked. Yeah, so it killed the server that I was running earlier. So whenever you want to play with the database, log into d.csv. Where are we? Yeah, back up here. Log in, possibly change into your local storage directory, and then source./env. And then to start your database server running, P1, and it gives you that message. PSQL-L should show you the list of all the databases that you've got, and P0 will stop the server. But like I said, when you log out, it gets stopped anyway. What happens if you forget to shut down? Yeah, nothing. And then you go back the next day, your server won't, your Postgres server won't be running. And you'll need to restart it. You always need to source the env file anyway. It shows the what? Waiting for server to start. If you've already got a server, it might do that. Oh, yeah, good point. Here's, we got, yeah, we've still got a test database. Oh, but we don't have a server. All right, I can start my server. I can go into test and I could Control Z, just suspend that. If I try to kill the server, what? That wasn't supposed to work. Oh. So what happened there? That's bizarre. I'm very interested in what's going to happen here. As far as I can tell, I don't have a server. Let's make a really simple table. It's just got one attribute. Aha, cool. All right, so the server closed before while this thing was running, and it's only just noticed. What I was actually expecting was something that one of you mentioned, that it'll say waiting for the server to shut down, ... and it'll just keep going. That will happen if you've got a client process that's currently accessing the server. All right, anyway, my server process is closed down. Getting a could not, yeah, because change that. So you haven't fixed your, when I opened the database, I met with a big end. Really? Yeah, so that was the question I was trying to answer with this, but obviously it didn't work. It shut the server down. Anyway, oh yeah, how do you create that symlink? Okay, so I go back to my home directory and I can remove the symlink. And then I go ln -s and the full path name, local storage /jas. And I link that to a nice short name like DB. So now I've got a thing called DB, which is actually a pointer to local storage. So if I go cd DB, all right, that confuses that, but I'm in my local storage directory. No, it's supposed to be an empty string. That's fine. Did you remove the hash at the start of the line, which will comment that configuration option out? And yeah, right, good. No worries. All right, getting back to the forum while the rest of you continue to play. Yeah, all right, just popping back in. My PGSQL said that I could not start the server. It's impossible for me to tell you why that is, because I do not know what your current environment setup is. So questions like that are really difficult to deal with. There could be a number of reasons, and we could work through them bit by bit, but we're not going to at this point. All right. For discourse, yeah, make sure that you assign each post to a category if relevant. If it's just some random generic post, then you don't need to give it a category. I think there's a category called uncategorized. All right. Finally, we get onto some database stuff. All right, so the first, yay, exactly. All right, so data modeling is where the whole process starts. So when the whole idea of this course is eventually I want you to be able to build database applications. The starting point for that, if someone gives you a broad problem statement, like I want to build a system to represent the University of New South Wales, all right, that's nice. And then you've got to elaborate exactly what they want. And part of the elaboration process is to identify what things are interesting in this context. What properties do these things have? Are there relationships between things, and are there constraints? Constraints are an important part of databases, especially when you get to SQL, because they will prevent you from putting rubbish data into your database, assuming you set your constraints up correctly. So you can try to insert stuff and it won't let you do it if it violates the constraints, which is important because it gives you some kind of guarantee that the data in your database is reasonable. So ultimately what you want to get is a description, a detailed description of all the information behind the broad problem statement. All right, so I thought we can have a look at a couple of examples, just trying to come up with items, properties and relationships, and maybe constraints as well. Well, it's not going to fit, is it? So I want to keep the question up, right? And maybe I can make this terminal window a bit smaller. 76, 72, move it across. Almost worked. I keep pushing it. All right. Want to build a system to manage information about books, authors, and of course, the silly window is on top of that. Publishing and publishing companies. All right. So the kind of, yeah, thanks. Go back to the other. Oh no, it's gone. How do I get it back? Oh dear. We have a failure. Come on, go back to the, thank you. I just pushed it off the other side. Silly. All right. System to manage books, authors, publishing companies. Okay. So here, this is the one. All right. I thought text was a bit bigger than that. I can make it bigger. Now it's bigger. Now it's even bigger. Now it's even bigger and bigger. All right. So when I'm working through exercises here, Jimmy Chen, you haven't sourced your env file. Yeah, when I'm working through problems here, I'll be typing stuff in, I'll be drawing diagrams, whatever, and it's all eventually going to end up in a bunch of files. Which directory is this? All right, so this is the directory for today, and these directories will be copied across to the website. So here we're just doing stuff informally, so I'll just make a text file. All right, obviously this system has to deal with books and authors and publishers, because that's what the spec said when we looked at that. Books, authors, publishing companies. I'll just call them publishers because I don't like typing. All right, that's all very nice. We want to have those kind of things in our database, but what do we want to know about books? You can type something into the chat if you have an idea. Oh, hang on, you're going mad. Wait a minute. Books, yeah, we could. That's recommended retail price is an interesting one. Right, there are some more. Title, yes, that was kind of obvious, I would have thought. Number of pages, yeah. What else? Dewey Decimal, yeah. Blurb, yeah. Edition, that's a good one. That's a good one. And I probably missed the number of pages. Title, author, date. Okay, title, yes. Author. We already got authors down here. All right. So a book has to have an author or possibly multiple authors. But these authors are actually object of type authors, if you like. So what we're going to do is set up some kind of link to the information about the authors. And in fact, if there are multiple authors, we may need to set up multiple links. And so I'll leave the option of having multiple authors and hence multiple links. All right, number of pages, ISBN, yeah, that's a good one. It's probably something critical. Actually, ISBN raises an interesting issue because an ISBN is something that uniquely identifies a book. And the notion of a property that uniquely identifies something is very important in relational databases, and it's tied in with the idea of a key. So this is a key for that particular book. You know, you could have multiple books with the same title, but you need to distinguish them. You look at the ISBNs. You know, someone said, publishers, a book isn't published by multiple publishers, I don't think, or at least a particular instance of a book with a particular ISBN is certainly only going to be published by one publisher. So we don't actually need those. So we're going to have a single link, published date, unless it is a public domain work. Yeah. Oh, is it public domain? So here's another thing about databases, that some data values for some items we might not know. So if it hasn't been published yet, we don't know. And some of these other things as well, we may not know. Maybe we don't know how many pages it's got and so on. So it's possible that some of these properties might not have values. Yeah. Genre, yeah. Yeah, Dewey encapsulates catalog number, yes, unless it's public domain. Work, all right. So actually, even this simple thing throws up some interesting ideas from the field of database. Things like keys that uniquely identify an item, and unknown or irrelevant values. And in fact, if we want to start talking about SQL terminology, we're talking null. Not to be confused with the C empty pointer. Ooh, translations into different languages. That's true. One thing we could have is a language Now that's interesting. Would a translation be have a different ISBN number? Not sure. Let's assume for the sake of argument that it does. So if we've got translations of a book, well, we'll have the title in the language that we translate it into, but all the other information would be the same number of, well, actually, number of pages may be different because it might come out longer in German or whatever, or it might come out shorter in Mandarin. Student language needs its own ISBN. Good, excellent, thank you. Language, what? Oh, we had translator. Yeah, that's hey. Translator. Nope. Translator. All right. Yeah, interesting. So we only need a value for this if it was actually a translated work. Translated work. Okay, yeah, true. I don't know, form factor. What was the question? Yes, good point. So the question was, what kind of data do we need to build a system like Kindle? Not as complicated as Kindle, but something to represent books, authors, and publishing companies. All right, what about, like, that's a lot of information about a book. It's actually more than yeah, if we were to, cost is effectively RRP, and cost is an interesting one because, oh yeah, good point. So we might have those two properties. What was I saying? Oh yeah, recommended retail price and cost are interesting because recommended retail price is kind of meant to be a fixed thing. The cost may depend on the seller. So the bookshop might add, 10% onto the recommended retail price. This particular bookshop might. Another retailer might add 20% onto the cost of the book. So cost itself isn't, yeah, that's what RRP is, recommended retail price. So cost isn't actually a property of the book per se. It's a property of the fact that the book is being sold somewhere. We haven't actually talked about bookstores in here, so maybe that's something else that we could add. Bookstores. All right. What about authors? Here's a guess. Correct. Yeah, maybe I'm taking up too many lines. Oh, it doesn't matter. Yeah. If I write DOB, whoa, books written. All right, I'll come back to that one. Gender, maybe. Country. Yeah, I guess so. right? Maybe that doesn't even matter. All right. And right, so that's an interesting one too. Or you could have ethnicity would be simpler. Well, yeah, whatever. Affiliation, yeah. Books written, date of death. Ooh, that's a useful one. Beer choices. Yes, favorite beer brand. All right. Don't try and suck up to me with references to beer. All right, just getting silly here. Some of those things might be relevant, even height and weight, ethnicity, yeah, country. One thing, so if you say country, what if an author moves around? They may be associated with multiple countries. If you want to try and find a unique country, what you could look for is they're not going to be born in two places at once, country of birth, or maybe ethnicity. It really depends. Here you'd have to go and talk to the person who wants this database and find out what information they actually need to store about authors. Now, there was an interesting one, pen name. Could an author have multiple pen names over the course of their writing career? Yes, they could. So we can't. All right. So once again, we got one of these things that has a property that potentially has multiple values. Now, the other thing about pen names is that they're actually associated with a book or maybe a sequence of books. But the pen name is kind of an association between the author and the book. So maybe we don't have pen names here because that's not really going to help us that much. We need to know what pen name was used on what books. Our relational database, correct. That's what we're heading towards. But this is the very early stage where we're trying to hash out what kind of information we're interested in. And you may notice that I ignored some of those suggestions, but I will take a look at this one. Books sold. Books sold. Wow. All right. I would suggest that's not going to be necessarily a direct property of the author, but it's going to be a property of something related to books and the sales of books through bookstores. Book is sold by an author. Yeah, so now we're starting to talk about relationships. And in fact, even with the pen name, that's what I was getting at. So it's not necessarily just a property of the author, it's a property of the relationship between the author and a book that they've written using a particular pen name. So maybe we can move it from there. Similarly, books sold would be something that you'd probably, oh yeah, all right, we can have native language, that's true. But you could also have or written, whatever. And this also throws up something that we haven't seen before. Maybe we have. Oh yeah, we got multiple authors, right? But once again, maybe they have multiple languages. Aha, all right. Date published could be an attribute of the book. published by a publisher. Yep. That's right. I don't think it's involved. It's actually a property of the book. But you're right to mention that there's a connection between the book and the publisher, and certainly that's going to be part of a relationship that comes. Right, now things like books sold and revenue generated, I would argue they're properties that we're actually going to compute based on the data that's stored in the database. So let's see what the revenue generated. All right. And these are actually very closely related. Let me see. One thing that we may not necessarily have here is something that uniquely identifies an author. Names can obviously be repeated. If we consider name and birth date, maybe that's unique, but maybe not. You know, it's remotely possible that two authors with the same name were also born on the same day. So, and then you can start throwing in things like country of birth, have name, birth date, country of birth, and maybe that uniquely identifies them. Passport number certainly would. So maybe we can add some property that uniquely identifies this person as well. Vaccine status. Oh, you want to add that as a property of an author? Well, maybe. I guess it's topical, that's for sure. Vaccine stouts. All right. True. Is Shakespeare going to have a passport number? No, not necessarily. So before passport number came up, I was just about to say, all right, I just saw another question. What if they're still alive? In that case, this field would be empty. We're allowed to have empty fields. If we don't have a value for this particular field, we don't have it. So you know that an author was active, or at least alive, by the fact that they had a birth date and they didn't have a death date. And in a database, we'd indicate that by putting an empty value for that. Yeah, getting back to the passport number. All right, some authors may not have passports, so what can we do about them? And in the end, if we can't think of any other way of identifying an author uniquely, then we do what you do, or what UNSW does for you. Come up with a ZID, or it won't be a ZID, an ID, which is just a number that we use to uniquely identify the author. I'm just reading some of this transcription. All right, it started out all right, but it seems to have gone off a bit. Let me see. Pen names, yes, there may be multiple pen names. If you think about how you'd represent this kind of thing in a programming language, if you got multiple values, you could stick them in an array or a linked list or whatever. I heard using new UID as primary key is more scalable. Is there any benefits? What's UUID? Is that a thing in every database? Oi, oi, oi. Yep, you are quite right. These are just bits like an integer. Yeah, sure. Just a big one. Ah, okay. Right, I didn't say anything about the representation of ID. Could be 64-bit, it could be a UUID thing. But anyway, the important point isn't we're not concerned with representation at this stage. We will be soon, but it's a value that uniquely identifies an author. Pen names, yeah, all right. So there's an example of a property of an author that we could just have a list of pen names for that author, but importantly, it's really the fact that a pen name is part of the association between an author and a book. And so I would argue that and they use a pen name while they're doing it. And maybe, I don't think everything else up there is sort of unique to the author and not associated to whether they write a particular book or not. Okay. So, I mean, that's an important thing too, that all of these properties that we've got here are directly related to the author and they don't come about because of some other relationship. All right, but the pen name does. All right, books sold. Well, we've got books. And a bookstore, we haven't even defined what a bookstore is. And now this is where the notion of the cost of a book in a particular bookstore could come up if we're really using this as some sort of way of tracking stock or something. Maybe that could be part of it, but if we're just keeping a bit abstract, then cost is probably the only thing that is important between a book and the bookstore that it's sold at. Now, of course, you got the fact that maybe at some point bookstores decide to sell a particular book cheaper. Sales numbers, yeah, all right, that's a good point. Numbers sold so the number of that particular book sold at that particular bookstore, cost and price, yeah, same thing. The different thing we had before was the recommended retail price. Margin, well, margin is something we could compute because we have the recommended retail price and we've got the actual price and we could work out the difference. Is the cost an attribute of the right? Yes, exactly. That's what I would argue. That's what I'm pointing at here. So these things that I've written in capital letters are essentially relationships. And these are properties of the relationship between, in this case, an author and a book. All right. Let's see. So bookstores, well, they can have an address. What else? Probably a name. Gimmicks. I guess if we, whoa, I was going to say, if this database is only about Australia, then we can use a business number, which I think track branches of the same store. Sure, you could. Right, certainly the address is going to be unique to a particular store. You can't have two bookstores at exactly the same address, depending on how you define address. And I'm not clear if we're talking about chains. All right, one way you could do it is you could just have the same name at different addresses. Bookstores, yeah, number of employees, if you like. But that one, if we're really keen, then we can have employees as a separate type of thing, and then have a relationship between and if we had that kind of relationship, then we wouldn't need to store this value. We could actually compute it. Oh, does it? What's the sold at? That's right. So that's different kind of, yeah, right. I can see why you might say that. The number sold is a property of the relationship between that particular book being sold at that particular bookstore. The number of employees, sure, if we didn't want to represent employees as a separate thing, then yeah, I'd argue number of employees would be a fine thing. But if we did represent employees, then this could be calculated. So we could use worksat to calculate it. Oh, books in stock. Have we quantity on hand? No, that's still a property of the relationship between that book and that bookstore. The thing about quantity on hand is it actually changes a lot. Whereas a lot of the other quantities don't change, you know, ABN, address, name doesn't change. Similarly, the number sold would change, but maybe this, we're kind of assuming that they always sell the same book at the same price. If they didn't, then what could we do? I don't know. Wouldn't the bookstore be online? It might be, right? So the address could be a physical address. Could be URL. I don't know. That's all I can think of. Which is an interesting thing in itself, because we've got this property has values that are from two completely different domains. So we'd have a physical address, you know, 100 George Street, or a URL, dimmicks.com.au, blah, blah, blah. Supply relationship between publisher and bookstore. Yep, we could certainly do that. All right, it's 6 o'clock. So that'll do. Yeah, thanks for finding out that it's 6 o'clock. I just noticed my voice is wearing out. So I reckon we can stop there. We can take a look at a couple of other examples like that. On Thursday, we don't, what was in the videos for this week? Slides and videos, week 2. Oh, what the? Oh no, that's week 2. We're in week 1, aren't we? Gosh. jumping ahead of myself. Week 1, data modeling, ER, oh, relational. Okay. Yeah, all right. Maybe we can just work from this example, and that'll probably allow us to talk a lot about aspects of the relational model. Since the setup process, everyone thinks we're starting at 10. I'll start at 10 on Thursday. Everyone else would kill you if you managed to persuade me to start at 9, I think, or a lot of people would. All right, so that'll do. I will now stop recording. If I can work out how to do it.